in sight as we peer in Obsidian Hall. Fragments of refuse, chalky and white, surround the strewn bones by the sacrifice wall. Runes from a time too old to be known are carved in the green malachite. They showed the first seeds Gaia gave to be sown, to bestial progenitors in primeval light. The surroundings are grave, but the wall stretches on, and it tells how the first trees took hold to flourish for aeons before that red dawn, where dark brine and ruin brought horror untold. There the script changes, jagged and raw, as if a new hand went to carve. But this syntax is strange and follows no law. After that, any story is pieces and shards. Runes come to an end, the mural comes in, and the sacrifice shown in detail. The cowled horned priest who brought the herd in, marks on the bones show what that entailed. Our party is shocked, we back toward the door, but the portal is covered by bars. Obsidian Hall comes to life with a roar. There stand druids with sickles and grotesque cathars. They strum out the notes that bring madness to bear. My comrades fell in with bare hands, possessed and transformed by some curse in the lair. My friends were no longer quite woman or man. Since then I've been trapped in this windowless cell. I cannot know why I was spared. I know I look ragged, I fear for my health. I beg for my freedom, I crave the fresh air. Let me out, just open the door. Please, my fair strangers, free me from this place. I can't stand the howls that come from the floor. Let me out, or I'll gnaw off your face. Let me out, or I'll come for you all, and take your dead bones to feed the great wall. Let me out, 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 let me out. The great skelly beast stood and he faced the waters that burst from the dam. As he channeled his magic, the wall was replaced. He was blasted by cheers from town woman and man. And we gathered to thank the great sky for its gifts, for this gaudy and solid and strong, rather than graves for our drowned goats and kids. Our warden, he rose to protect us from wrong. He roamed far and wide with a party of legend. Many were saved, but his friends had to pay. He put sorrow aside and instead tried to mend. He looked for a village who had need of his ways. Any hole could be plugged with a stout enough cork. Any dike could be mended and smoothed. He'd help mighty and rich or the impoverished short. As he knew he was needed, his ravaged heart soothed. And we gathered to thank the great sky for its gifts, for this gaudy and solid and strong, rather than graves for our drowned goats and kids. Our warden, he rose to protect us from wrong. For he came to our village, our backwater ditch, and he saw what great misery we kept. Our bedrock would constantly roil and shift. Because of this curse, we died and we wept. In our land he found holes that couldn't be plugged, and dams that couldn't be fixed. And he knew he was needed. With a great tortile shrug, he settled, and now we can safely exist. And we gather to thank the great sky for its gifts, for this gaudy and solid and strong, rather than graves for our drowned goats and kids. Our warden, he rose to protect us from wrong. And we gather to thank the great sky for its gifts, for this guardian solid and strong, rather than graves for our drowned goats and kids. Our warden, he rose to protect us from wrong. Gather, good people, the young and the old, to hear of a traveler daring and bold. He served in the wars in a great naval fleet, with cudgel and girdle and wings on his feet. They say he was born of a god or a nymph, left as a babe on a pedestal's plinth. Only the blessed had such speed and such skill, and never was seen a boy with more will. Centaur and harpy cower in fear as our hero draws near. Foes ready their spears, but he runs in with haste, and they look on his face and see that his spirit is marked by the fates. If he comes by a cyclops, furious and red, who threatens to crush his bones into bread, our hero relies on the shape of his brain and attempts every parting with minimal pain. He knows in the past these giants were tricked, robbed of their flocks, blinded with sticks. He thinks for the grace of the gods stumble I, so even to monsters he's humble and kind. Centaur and harpy cower in fear as our hero draws near. Foes ready their spears, but he runs in with haste, and they look on his face and see that his spirit is marked by the fates. When the boy became man, with chest toned and broad, he crafted a plan to find goddess or god that left him alone with such spirit and need. He beseeched the blind poet and followed each lead. So he came to the briny caves close to the sea, and saw who had spawned his divine destiny. A 20-limbed kraken with human-like hands. Though he buckled in horror, he'd soon understand. Centaur and harpy cower in fear as our hero draws near. Foes ready their spears, but he runs in with haste, and they look on his face and see that his spirit is marked by the fates. His sire or dame, he wasn't quite sure, pointed him to a shallow pool carved in the floor, and he saw as he peered in that burbling ooze, the truth of his birth was no longer confused, and he knew that he must learn and come back and teach each of his siblings, whether tadpole or leech. And he knew why he feared not what old laws forbid. Things are less fearful when your mother's a squid. Squid. Put hope in the seals to hold us through. Have faith that the keel holds up on you. Put oar to the brine, beat the drum double time. This barge is a wreck, but it must make do. It's been barely a week since we left the safe harbor to rescue the sacrifice tied to the rock. Though we killed the sea snake, our sailcloth was raked, and the wind was too mighty to row back to dock. Put hope in the seals to hold us through. Have faith that the keel holds up on you. Put oar to the brine, beat the drum double time. This barge is a wreck, but it must make do. The strain will bring end to the rostrum and rudder if we fail to contend this murderous storm. We've got just one hope in this barrel of rope. Tie pillar to pillar, put shoulder to oar. Put hope in the seals to hold us through. Have faith that the keel holds up on you. Put oar to the brine, beat the drum double time. This barge is a wreck, but it must make do. Though close, we must pass through the crushing stones that can render our ship into planks. We have to go fast if we want to get past. Pull, look out, we need every rower in rank. Put hope in the seals to hold us through. Have faith that the keel holds up on you. Put oar to the brine, beat the drum double time. This barge is a wreck, but it must make do. Put hope in the seals to hold us through. Have faith that the keel holds up on you. Put oar to the brine, beat the drum double time. This barge is a wreck, but it must make do. Put oar to the brine, beat the drum double time. This barge is a wreck, but it must make do. In a city of cowards, a shady man waits. Ladies in powder selling off dates. Sweet fruit for the harvest at excellent rates. A man from the mountains looking for gold. The plan hashed by the fountain for treasures of old. Artifacts for the harvest by adventurers bold. Head to the bay where privateers rest, a captain to challenge in combat and best, and a crew that wants more than just gold in a chest. And these men have an excellent plan to ascend the dead hills where the steppe nomads dance, and portend what they will from their drug-induced trance. Protect innocents captured to finish a plan by a sinister man who works so he can talk to gods, never dying, but dreaming and scheming and trying to bring dust to the land. Run rugged, give all, there's lives on the line. Roads flooded, give stall, but they strive through the brine. A pursuit to the tower, arriving on time. A road madman stands, dagger in hand, but cannot withstand the mountainous man from the mountains who landed and ended the plans to bring old gods and chaos, turn castles to sand. They returned and commanded the gates to be sealed. Renew the old deals, give the world time to heal. Keep the gates locked and maintain the zeal, for a world still in shock is an excellent meal. For chaos and madness which must be repealed by trial and error and belief in the real. Enjoy our hospitality, our beds and bread and wine. To sleep and heal, our warmth to feel and worship our divine. Welcome here, my traveler, through rain or hazing sun. To work or trade our fields or stalls and feast when evening comes. Enjoy our hospitality, our breads and bed and wine. To feel at home, although you roam, is the gift of our divine. The roads are paved and safe to walk, guarded day and night. Scripts are saved to be read or taught, to know is its own delight. Enjoy our hospitality, our wine and breads and beds. Though you may leave, you'll always grieve for the life you could have here instead. Our walls are strong, our laws are fair, and they show us how to live. We all belong in each other's care, with just one life to give. Enjoy our hospitality, our sacramental wine. After one more night in the dead moon's light, you'll be born again divine. Anahita, mother of water, feeds the rivers, the brooks, and the springs. The naiads are her chosen daughters, and the sea god brings her corals and rings. Our cities were built with her blessing divine by shepherds who heard her burbling call. She showed how the heavens moved over time, and with practice we spread that knowledge to all. Anahita, mother of water, feeds the rivers, the brooks, and the springs. The naiads are her chosen daughters, and the sea god brings her corals and rings. The magi are nothing without River Mother, but when learned travelers come from the west, they walk past the shrines and don't bathe in the water, instead rubbing grease on their faces and chests. Anahita, mother of water, feeds the rivers, the brooks, and the springs. The naiads are her chosen daughters, and the sea god brings her corals and rings. We humor the men who risk such far travel, who covet our secrets for their fine polity. Cities where women are locked up like cattle, and most of the men live in bare poverty. Anahita, mother of water, feeds the rivers, the brooks, and the springs. The naiads are her chosen daughters, and the sea god brings her corals and rings. We tell them the tales we reserve for such fools, easy to check with patience and time, but philosophers fail to harness such tools, preferring instead what sounds the most fine. Anahita, mother of water, feeds the rivers, the brooks, and the springs. The naiads are her chosen daughters, and the sea god brings her corals and rings. But you, my friend, are not such a stranger. You've heeded her call with clear heart and mind. Dive in the pool, push past the danger, and you'll share in peace as only we find. Anahita, mother of water, feeds the rivers, the brooks, and the springs. The naiads are her chosen daughters, and the sea god brings her corals and rings. Anahita, mother of water, feeds the rivers, the brooks, and the springs. The naiads are her chosen daughters, and the sea god brings her corals and rings. The tale of a brave and noble wanderer who fell into a place not known by men for years, a place underground, older than time or longer, growing in our terrors and our fears. He played a golden lyre, had a voice of the stars. He trekked the world by boat, moving near and far, blessed by the gods, Thousands heard his voice, the world moved when he made that fabled choice. He joined the ranks of a famous noble vessel, manned by a crew of 50 heroic men, the son of a god, men who hunted and wrestled, some of which were never seen again. He angered the gods, and their vengeance slew his lover. A deadly nest of snakes left her body cold, though he knew in his heart he could never love another, and hatched a plan both foolish and bold. He played a golden lyre, had a voice of the stars. He trekked the world by boat, moving near and far, blessed by the gods. Thousands heard his voice, the world moved when he made that fabled choice. The earth for years, looking for the entrance that would take him to the darkness under the earth, braving deadly perils and a guardian immense to prove to the king and queen his worth. He moved their frozen hearts with his beautiful song. They granted him to leave with his lover and wife if he didn't look behind as he traveled along. They would restore her soul and her life. He played a golden lyre, had a voice of the stars. He trekked the world by boat, moving near and far, blessed by the gods. Thousands heard his voice, the world moved when he made that fabled choice. Alas, curiosity proved to be his downfall. He tried to steal a glance to see if the gods spoke true. She disappeared in seconds with a sorrowed haunting call, just as the earth's green meadows were in view. And so ends the tale of our brave and noble wanderer, who tried and failed to bring his love back to the sun. The only chance to restore his true love he squandered, and in that valley his life was undone. Historicus stood and looked at his work, volumes of all of the lore on the earth, a lifetime of labor for his hoplites and serfs, all the servants and scribes his vast treasures could feed. He paged through the volumes that he couldn't read. His scribes had translated and sated his needs, but he knew that the books were the greatest indeed, or so he'd been told by his huddled elites. So he summoned his guard, and the wagon was leashed, and a score of apprentices gathered beneath, with their tablets appended to defend against grief, for their lord could bring praises or scolds. He hiked up his robe of linen and gold, and gazed at his consort who had dared to grow old. He heaved towards the wagon, and without being told, his caretakers moved in to help. But for once he deferred, he'd do it himself. Though a noble, well-bred, he was in perfect health, so he swung up his leg and missed, and he yelled and tried to grab on to his staff. But his bulk was too great, and he stumbled and crashed, and there on the ground, with his saged head cracked, as he lay there and faded, he sputtered and laughed. For once he had done his own work. Came down from the hills and camped in the pond that sits mirror still. Spoke to the clod and the beaked and the billed, and rejoiced for her life was fine. Out from the city came a sensual man, sent out from the temple to act on a plan. The queen of the city took with forceful hands any she wanted to share of her wine. So the harlot he stopped and drank from the pool. His throat clicked and locked to feel the barb cruel. The wilder woman held out to his neck, but he won out her mercy and asked her direct. Lie with me, woman, and put down your spear. Let me take your sorrows and heartbreak and fears. Take of my spirit, take all that you need. My body is here to follow your lead. After 7 vivid nights that they laid, the wilder woman grew newly afraid. The beasts were now fearful of her touch and her gaze, and she wept at what she had lost. The man saw her tears and softened the pain. He pulled out the beetles and moss from her mane. He spoke of the city and why he had came, and wept at what it had cost. So through 2 more weeks they mingled and talked, wore breeds into sandals with smooth river rocks, tanned hide of a lion for girdle and cape, and walked close together to the great gates. Come out, great queen, and fight a true foe. Don't pilfer the husbands of your women folk. I lost to you humans my tie to the land, so come out, dear monarch, and die by my hand. And out came the queen, in a battle they clashed. 10 seasons they grappled and throttled and lashed. While they struggled, the city trained enforcers unmatched. By the time they collapsed, the queen was dethroned. After waking, both realized just what they had gained. Finding another so strong and untamed, they decided for glory in the great city's fame, to rove and bring great riches home. And they went on their journey, now etched in the stars. The harlot was mournful and wandered afar, and though his adventures are less widely known, he would tell of his lover wherever he roamed. She came from the mountain and sang like the birds, a song of such beauty few mortals have heard. Though our cities will grow to height yet unseen, I mourn for the wilderness robbed of its queen. Sweet sings the siren over salt water foam. The sailors who took me so far from my home are raving and screaming and clawing their ears, trying to block out the song that they hear. Though I hear the singing, ringing and clear, my heart is not captured by longing or fear. I wait for my jailer to rush to the fray, with the singers as cover. I steal away, though late in the night, without the sun's rays. I hurry my flight while my captors are dazed. But enough of the stars peek through the veil, and I follow with ease the Milky Way's trail. Though I'm born from the stars and I walk on the wind, I still have to hobble through sorrow and sin. Creatures and vagabonds swarm for my light, to keep like a jewel to warm them at night. I watch the Sphinx leave and stare at my palm. Though her fortune held evil, my heart is still calm. After fortnights of riddles and terrible tests, old questions were answered, and air floods my chest. For leagues out to Stygia, the song could be heard. Over mountains and oceans echoed each word. After service and solitude, as treasure or slave, I'd live in no harem, adorn no king's grave. Though I'm born from the stars and I walk on the wind, I still have to hobble through sorrow and sin. Creatures and vagabonds swarm for my light, to keep like a jewel, to warm them at night. Though I'm born from the stars and I walk on the wind, I still have to hobble through sorrow and sin. Creatures and vagabonds swarm for my light, to keep like a jewel, to warm them at night. I the red pulsing glow and the hammerheads blow, our destiny pulled from the ground. With 4 crucibles cracked and our calamine brass, no longer will we be held down. Well, the fates may decree that we speak blasphemy when we choose to be free of their web. But our sisters deny that we have to die for the sins of the heaven-cursed dead. Rise against the heaven sent to keep us meek and low. The lies that warped our hooves and skin have kept us down below, as if it was hubris to want to be fed. Put clothes on our children or sleep in fine beds. If gods were so great, we'd already be dead. Our people have paid more than you know, so we bided and planned and brought in more hands. We had spies in the ranks of their priests. Over oceans and sands we reached foreign lands, and readied ourselves to rise from beneath. The foreigners came and clashed in our name. Cunning cowled cowards fled their great stones. The triumphant remained, and new kingdoms were laid by the victors who'd won their new homes. We rose against the heaven sent to keep us meek and low. We know that with their evil spent, our kingdom will still grow. Though they came from outside, they helped us to be free, to mold and to shape our own destinies, to watch the old gods turn tail and flee. Our people have won more than you know. Thundering chariots bound down the track, necks are all craned to leer at the race. A poor urchin girl selling fruit from a sack. A spectator reads, the juice smears his face. Back on the track, a horse's leg breaks. The chariot flips and screams can be heard. The crowd is excited, and for the show's sake, the other contestants each race undeterred. Is this why we quarried the stone? to build massive temples to our new divine. The keystones were laid by people alone. No creatures but us built this great chiseled shrine. My head starts to ache as the ritual starts. I pray to the goddess of wisdom in rhyme. The words leave my mouth with an ache in my heart. I drone with dull tone each scripted line, though I witnessed ascension and healings. And I've lived enough time to know what we've gained. As my years grow greater, so does the feeling. No goddess of wisdom would sanction these games. Is this why the old theaters fell? Were cooked fire stories so savage and poor? Without teaching the past, how can we tell if it's monster or goddess that we supplicate for? The forums are filled with chaos and blame, and many have gathered our help to beseech. The soldiers take bribes, and without any shame, they threaten the farmers, dismiss them as weak. So the polity riots, and I have to agree, though I've spent my whole life under vows. If my goddess exists, she's blind to our needs. Nothing holy or mortal will keep us low now. This is how we'll drive our fate. No out-of-touch gauntlet will again be revered. We'll raise our own people who have proved themselves great, and never again will we bow to our fear. He shucked the shell from the mussel, gobbled the meats and smiled and thought of the tubers and greens he had rustled to roast up with beets and steep in a sauce. For days he had wandered and wondered, pondered and plundered larders for lard, but he pondered too hard and hungered again, and so he restarted his feast without end. He napped in the bristles while whistled by bolts and other such missiles, launching or logged some battle or siege or bloody revolt. He finished his meal and started to nod. After so brief a nap of hardly a day, he awoke in a red battlefield. He thought of the visceral waste and decay, but just for a minute, then looked for a meal. For weeks he had wandered and wondered, pondered and plundered larders for lard, but he pondered too hard and hungered again, and so he restarted his feasts without end. Well, something had always confused him. Others abused him, but he just didn't bleed, or let in the spear tips to puncture his skin. He wondered why others felt such wanted need. If you really love life, do like him, just don't die. Maintain your mask and deeply breathe in. He tried to tell folk, just refused to comply. If a psychopomp visits, send him to kin. For years he had wandered and wondered, pondered and plundered larders for lard, but he pondered too hard and hungered again, and so he restarted his feast without end. For years he had wandered and wondered, pondered and plundered larders for lard, but he pondered too hard and hungered again, and so he restarted his feast without end. Like a river we flow, and like barley we grow, to reach for the light of the sun. By the burbling brook and the oaths that we took to unite and face shadows as one. When I saw you at first, I took no special heed as you led in the flock from the hills. But when tragedy struck and you rose to our needs, my murmuring heart pushed my faltering will. Like the mountains we stand and like titans we plan to push against dire designs. Amidst blossoms of gold with our futures untold, we merge and mix water and wine. As we raised up our children and guarded the flocks, the tribes of the Iron Man swelled. By truncheon or pike, by arrow or rock, one by one we were pushed towards hell. Like the great winds we howl and we rake like the owl who terrifies creatures that creep. If we die in our flight, at least we gave fight and refused to go softly to sleep. But the man-creatures ran and we breathed with relief, though steep was the price that we paid. Filly and foal were screaming in grief, 10 score were the gravestones we laid. Like a river we flow and like barley we grow to reach for the light of the sun. By the burbling brook and the oaths that we took to unite and face shadows as one. Like the mountains we stand and like titans we plan to push against dire designs. Amidst blossoms of gold with our futures untold, we merge and mix water and wine. There stands here a grove where the goddess still reigns. The passing is matched by trial and game, sprinting and hurdles, discus and ball, to greet the new king as his twin brother falls. To mark the pass of the waning year, athletes gather and priests draw near, with sprigs of cypress and mistletoe. The old must die for new to grow. Hey, oh, hey, the ivy and spruce finish the ritual, bring a new dawn. Dance and play and relish the truce between river and rock, cougar and fawn. The running of maidens through Appian Way starts off the games and the king's final day. Children throw flowers, the crowd is a roar. Their feet end up bloody, but pain is ignored. As the Vestal race closes, the first feast begins. A stout satyr waddles with wine on his chin. He opens his throat and velvet notes spring, as if the Green Mother herself were to sing. Hey, oh, hey, the alder and spruce finish the ritual, bring a new dawn. Dance and play and worship the truce between Titan and Godlings, the wolf and the fawn. As the banquets continue, the grapplers walk in, anointed in oil, clad only in skin, to wrestle and struggle and exhibit their skill, a true test of strength, constitution, and will. Hey, oh, hey, pomegranate and spruce, finish the ritual, bring a new dawn. Just today we honor the truce between secrets and wisdom, lion and fawn. Discuses flung from dizzying spins, javelins thud as their heads splinter in. Targets and straw are retrieved for the stage, to build up the flame that will bring a new age. Hey, oh, hey, serpent and spruce, finish the ritual, bring a new dawn. Eternity gazes and blesses our truce between power and ignorance, tiger and fawn. Fully prepared and enduring his rights, the waning king sits as they sharpen the knife. He remembers ascension and his long year was grand, as he readies the crescent moon scepter in hand. Hey, oh, hey, barley and spruce, the ritual's done, we gaze at the dawn. Eternity kneels, blessing our truce between chaos and order, Venus and fawn. truce. The ritual's done, we gaze at the dawn. Eternity kneels, blessing our truce between chaos and order, Venus and Fawn. I went to the mountain where the maiden sits with her bow. Amidst the groves of cypress, I begged her for to know. I said, maiden, will you tell me what is on my woman's mind? Can I slay a boar or harpy to put our suffering behind? She laughed and left me standing, wondering what I could have said, and to my shame demanding, I hung my weeping head. I went to the mountain where the mother sat and wove, with kids cooing and crying, and a pot hot on the stove. I said, Mother, can you tell me why my woman scorns me so? Can I bring her a fleece or a flying steed, so that she'll let me know? She smiled and turned to her children, calling each of them to heel. She too ignored my question, but shared with me their meal. I went to the mountain to beseech the grizzled crone, who sits with snakes and mushrooms in a gray old shack alone. I said, crone, can you tell me why my woman shames me so? Though I speak clear and loud, I feel shamed and not proud. I'd kill Titan or Hydra to know. She cackled and then said to me, in words so clear and sharp, did you try asking directly before this journey starts? Well, the fox went out on a chilly night, prayed to the moon to give him light, for in many a mile to go that night before he reached the town, oh, town, oh, town, oh, many a mile to go that night before he reached the town, oh. He ran till he came to a great big pen, and the ducks and the geese were kept therein. Said, a couple of you are gonna grease my chin before I leave this town, oh, town, oh, town, oh, a couple of you are gonna grease my chin before I leave this town, oh. Then he grabbed the gray goose by the neck, he threw the duck across his back, and he didn't mind the quack, 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 and the legs all dangling down, oh, down, oh, down, oh. He didn't mind the quack, 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 and the legs all dangling down, oh. Old Mother Flipper Flopper jumped out of bed, out of the window she cocked her head, crying, John, John, the gray goose is gone, and the fox is on the town, oh, town, oh, town, oh. John, John, the gray goose is gone, and the fox is on the town, oh. Johnny ran to the top of the hill, he blew his horn both loud and shrill. The fox, he said, I better flee with my kill, or they'll soon be on my trail, oh, trail, oh, trail, oh. The fox, he said, I better flee with my kill, or they'll soon be on my trail, oh. And he ran till he came to his cozy den, there were the little ones, 8, 9, 10, said, Daddy, 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 better go back again, for it must be a mighty fine town, oh, town, oh, town, oh. Daddy, daddy, better go back again, for it must be a mighty fine town, oh. Then the fox and his wife, without any strife, cut up the goose with a fork and a knife. They never had such a supper in their life, and the little ones chewed on the bones, oh, bones, oh, bones, oh. They never had such a supper in their life, and the little ones chewed on the bones, oh. Monuments cast in long crumbled molds, they tower above with the hatreds of old. Metal that withstood erosion and age needs to fall now to answer our rage. The statues were cast in the flames of dark hate when dragons still ravaged our lands. It reminds of a past we must reformulate, so grab up the rope, hold it tight in your hands. We'll pull down the statues that stalk through our dreams, delivering nightmares and continent screams. We hide till the dawn to hold through the night. So join with us, brother, in our holy fight. Smash down the statues that hunt for our flesh. Bring down the hammer, our quest has been blessed by wizened albinos that rule from their homes in mansions with walls of impassable stone. What do we want? Book burnings to answer our yearnings. The past must be cleansed and never forget. Our final regret was none of us ever had any real friends. So move now, my comrades, my partners in crime. Although we are weak, by mobbing we'll find we number enough, we can force them to see what power can come from a master's degree. Smash down the statues that hunt for our flesh. Bring down the hammer, our quest has been blessed by wizened albinos that rule from their homes in mansions with walls of impassable stone. 2468 will have no debate. This matter too dear to come to a vote. To fight for our rights we come in the night, to sever their heads from their evil bronze throats. Smash down the statues that hunt for our flesh. Bring down the hammer, our quest has been blessed by wizened albinos that rule from their homes in mansions with walls of impassable stone. In mansions with walls of impassable stone. In mansions with walls of impassable stone. In 1893, Hawaii had a democracy, but we fixed that, overthrew the queen, so we'd have place to grow coffee beans. Join hands with me and sing along the words to our people's imperial song. A paradise we took for free to instate the planter autocracy. So get on the board and come on by, see the apple of the Pentagon's eye. 11 bases, 15 billion a year, that will keep us safe, my dear. So mahalo aleichem, aloha salam. Come and tell me when the party's on. If you're a bit chubby, well don't you frown. Our most famous singer weighs 600 pounds. So before the sea rises and brings its doom and traps us in this ashy tomb, take a jet plane here, go for a whirl, see the last green grass of a dying world. So mahalo akbar, you know it's haram to skip the luau on a Ramadan, as Kamehameha himself used to say. You gotta jihad the aloha way. Mahalo akbar, you know it's haram to skip the luau on a Ramadan, as Kamehameha himself used to say. You gotta jihad the aloha way. You gotta jihad the aloha way. You gotta jihad, you gotta jihad, you gotta jihad the aloha way. When I was quite young and old songs could be sung, they told us how we used to brave the harsh light. But we had to run to hide from the sun, for our hubris had earned us this pit-dwelling blight. And our leaders were learned in all the old rites. When they gathered to leave, we prayed that they might bring us back news from the world of outside. Untrained and unguided, our folk had to hide. Our minders would smile, heads up with pride, as they put on their blinders, one on each side, to block and to shade them from frightening rays, to bring us back stories to lighten our days. In the cavern we'd sit, young to the old, after hours in the pit, breathing in mold, for the ore that they'd break from the load, which was packed by our minders in crates, which then rode up a lift through a shaft dug deep in the past, up to the surface, pitted and blasted, where slobbering mutants would take up their prize, a deal we must hold with the folk we despise. This bargain was struck many decades ago, when I was a babe in a crib. These bandits had threatened our city below if we had nothing precious to give. Our protectors then earned their glorious place, taking the burden so we could stay free. Since then they've protected and herded our race, and give shows on the wall of the cavern to see. The things from outside they project from a light that beams from a channel bored out up high. Shadows from puppets darker than night dance on the wall, and we learn what and why happens out there, and why the gods act as perpetual scholars. The minders know facts like the size of the earth, 30 miles by 9. How you judge a man's worth by reading his mind. And we drink of the tea steeped by our gods to protect us from fiends like the moon and the stars. I know that the minders are folk just like me, and I wonder what sights sit under the sky. Just once for myself to help me believe, to be sure of the what and to know all the why. So I'll wait till the shadow show's finished, strap moss to my feet and dull my footfall, and then late with light fully diminished and a ration of meat, I'll climb up that wall. Well, I know that the minders wouldn't tell lies, and I don't want to burn in the glare. Though I go without blinders to shade my weak eyes, I'm sure they won't burn out in 1 second stare. So up I ascend into the old land, my friend, I'll return to you soon. I'll tell tales of the waste and hold in my hand a piece that I'll tear from that devilish moon. Who is like God, who treads on the sod and pushes the plow like a serf? And how do you know the seeds that you grow as you scratch for a place on this earth? The cards that he grips with a smile on his lips